And there we go.
All right. Good morning, all. So this morning we have Kevin O'Laughlin from Movement Mortgage. Kevin, thanks for coming on.
Good morning. Good morning.
So how we always usually kind of kick this off is, I guess, Kevin, just give us a little bit of your background and kind of what got you started in the mortgage space.
Yeah, man, I feel like that's always a fun question to ask, how people ended up in this fun game of real estate or mortgage. And I've heard a lot of crazy ones. And for me personally, I was applying to jobs on LinkedIn, man. I grew up in Western New York and worked at a publicly traded bank called Community Bank NA, and was there for about 3 to 4 years. I was actually doing auto loans. So I was the loan officer approving auto loans for car dealerships. I've been looking at credit reports for a while, and man, like I was there was really a ceiling, at that place, and I hated the cold, man. I grew up in about an hour south of Buffalo. Go Bills!
Thank you.
And I was like, man, I need to get out of this cold. And I just started going on LinkedIn and was applying to jobs in warm states. Anything that said like high earning potential, warm state was my qualifications. And LinkedIn makes it super easy to where you're just like clicking apply, just send your LinkedIn profile versus like having to go through like formal websites and stuff. So you could apply to like, 20 to 30 jobs, in 5 minutes with a click of a button. So long story short, that took me out to Houston, Texas, where it was a call center for poor credit, mortgage, USDA and FHA manual underwrites, like just the worst, absolute like garbage leads. And I did that for a year out in Houston, Texas, and that's kind of, it was hot out in Houston, I got to tell you, but that's kind of how I stumbled into the game, man. Not intentional at all. I didn't know anyone in the space that was like telling me like, hey man, you got to get into real estate and mortgage. Like we're killing it over here. It was purely just stumbled into an opportunity, and 7-8 years later now here
Rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
What year was that when you were down in Houston?
I was down in Houston 2015-ish. 2015, 2016 is kind of when I was out there, because I moved back from Houston. So that community bank moved me to Pittsburgh to develop the territory for auto loans. So that's what brought me to Pittsburgh. And then I was in Pittsburgh for about a year working for the bank from New York. And that's when I started to apply to the jobs. And then that's what took me out to Houston. And then I ended up coming back to Pittsburgh after being in Houston for a year. And that was like October of 2016 is when I came back to Pittsburgh, linked up with Movement and everything, and got boots on the ground in Pittsburgh.
I don't think I knew that part, actually. When you come, like so you went Buffalo to Pittsburgh, then you're like, damn it, I didn't go far enough south. Then you're to Houston and then back. So you weren't. Okay. Well, and so Tim, does that sound familiar at all, using the platform LinkedIn to connect with an opportunity? Because I always joke, I was like, Tim, we're friends because of online dating, except through LinkedIn and Indeed.com. It's just like you just kind of you applied to a job post that
I was like I was just dissatisfied looking online in real estate, and Matt Durbin had an Indeed ad, and I was like, I'm gonna look into this further.
Here we are.
Yeah, it's funny how that all works out.
So don't discount your opportunities.
Yeah. So Kevin, getting into Movement, I do know this portion a little bit about your story, and I love it. So talk about like the process of getting lined up with Movement.
Yeah, man. So I basically like cut my teeth in this call center in Houston, Texas, 12 hours a day, smiling and dialing. And it was awful, but it was great from the perspective that I learned the mortgage game at a hyper speed. Like I would probably say like the average loan officer, I think, does 3 to 5 deals a month roughly, which for a loan officer, especially this year, it's going to be tougher. But in the last 2 years, like you're basically working 2 hours a day if you do 3 to 5 deals a month as a loan officer. So I would probably compare it to like in 1 year, I probably had 5 to 10 years of experience that one loan officer doing 3 to 5 deals a month would. So it was awesome. It was very difficult. It was like boot camp, man, like 12 to 13 hours a day doing that. And after a year of doing that, I lost 30 pounds due to stress. Like I was that online lender, man, that was like telling 3 to 5 people a week they couldn't get the home that I pre-qualified them for. Because my boss at the time, it's just like, we're flying pre-qual letters out, not actually verifying everything, just quick pre-quals over the phone, have them a pre-qual in 5 minutes. And I was like, wow, that was awesome for me. I learned so much from the people there, and I'm super thankful for the people there. It was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And the gentleman I was working for at one point was looking to go to like another lender that we were teamed up with out of his branch. And Movement was one of the people that came in and did a presentation at our office in Houston. And everything they said just made so much sense, man. Like this was in 2015, I believe, or early 2016. And they're saying like, we fully underwrite everything up front to make sure the buyer is like fully good. And we can close in as little as 15 days. And it's just like, everything they said was like answering the problems and the experience that, I was having with the prior lender. And I remember, man, I told my boss out in Houston, I was like, you give me this Movement, man, and I will blow it up. Like I will blow it up. It's just such an easy platform. It makes sense. They're good people. Like 50% of Movement's profit goes to a charity. They're building charter schools all across the country. Like these people are good people, Long story short, boss didn't want to team up with Movement. And then after a year of being in Houston, I'm like, man, it's too hot out here. I got friends in Pittsburgh. Like, I'm going to go back to Pittsburgh. So I go back to Pittsburgh, and I'm still working for the gentleman out of Houston for about 3 to 4 months. And the institution was called Bank of England. And it's like, man, I can't even, like, by the time I say I work for Bank of England, like I'm already losing, like, So no offense to any Bank of England people watching this.
Well, brand recognition matters to a point.
So finally, like, man, like as I was transitioning from Texas back to Pittsburgh, I started messaging the CEO of Movement, Casey Crawford. And I messaged him the day after this guy named Chris Blevins did a presentation for us in Texas. And I said, hey, man, Chris just did a presentation here. I'm thinking of moving back to Pittsburgh. You guys don't have a location there. Let's let me take this thing to Pittsburgh. And Casey actually responded right away. It was like, awesome, man. I'm going to have someone reach out to you. I was just shocked that the CEO responded to me. 3 months go by. Don't hear anything. And I'm in Pittsburgh, boots on the ground with Bank of England, trying to write loans and stuff. And man, I'm delaying closings. Their process is awful. And then finally, like I had a rough day, and I think it was 3 months after the original message to the CEO, Casey, and I hit him up again on LinkedIn. I'm like, dude, like you got to take a chance, like begging him, like just begging him for an opportunity, like take a chance on me, it'll be worth it, blah, blah, blah. And then like the next day I finally get a call, and Casey responds like, sorry, man, so-and-so was supposed to reach out. Let me get someone on the horn. They'll reach out to you by tomorrow. They interviewed me. They came down, and like kind of the rest was history. They gave us an opportunity, opened an office for us. And that's kind of how Movement originated in Pittsburgh.
You said so many things that, I mean, certainly trying to not interrupt in any capacity, but wrote it down. Like it's what is it with the Coach Bird? It's just remarkable boldness. There's like those top 5. I can't remember them all right now, but I don't know how many people stop after one try. Casey wasn't trying to shut you down. He had 18 other things going on in that 1 minute period. Right. And so he just forgot, respectfully, he's trying to build a company. He needed someone like you that's willing to follow up and try again, and it's funny how you hit a difficult day. It's either one thing, it's like you're either pulled toward it or like pushed away from it. And you're like, you know what? No more of this. Like, and you reach back out to him again, respectfully, like follow up. Yeah, man, that I think speaks a lot to just how you handle your business now, where it's like, I needed a better way. I wanted to do better, and I was looking for the opportunity to do it. I saw it, and I didn't let not getting it the first time stop me. And the last piece of that, I'm pretty sure whenever I met Matt Durbin and DJ Fairley as well, the team we work with now, I was like, how did you meet Kevin originally? He's like, he just didn't stop calling us. And respectfully so, because you knew you could help them. You know what I mean? And it's just like you just didn't let it go. We're like, yeah, okay, bye. Yeah, okay, bye. And it's just like, and now we're friends. It's just like you don't stop because you know you can help. So
I do have a question on that specifically, Kevin. So like, what did that, when you were first reaching out to Casey, I think a lot of people, our age and maybe just in the beginning would say to themselves, even like this negative self-talk, like, man, who am I to reach out to the CEO of this company? Like, did you have any like reservations doing that initially, or what did that look like?
I don't know, man. So like, I could have. So like, this Chris Blevins did the presentation in Texas, but he was like the Texas manager, and I knew that I was going to Pittsburgh. So like, if I was going to stay in Texas, I probably would have gone directly to him to like start that conversation. But since I was going to Pittsburgh, he was the only contact I had. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go right after the CEO, and then he'll direct me to like whoever the Pennsylvania person was at the time. So that's what forced me to do that. But I'm like, sending a LinkedIn message, sending a Facebook message, like it's the easiest thing to do. Like, I was really like a tough guy. I would have picked up the phone and like try to call. I definitely didn't do that. But it was just so easy to send a message. It's like the worst thing that happens is they're not going to respond. So that's why I kind of went that route.
Right. Well, I mean, don't sell yourself short. I think like the level of confidence you gain through cutting your teeth and your initial experience, like clearly you know what you're doing. So because you have already done that and you have the skill set that is needed to succeed in the industry, I think that probably helped you out. Definitely. So yeah, hats off to you, man. The boldness is good. That's
remarkable
great.
Boldness.
Yeah. Remarkable boldness. Yeah.
My question, just moving it not back, but just real quick, it's funny sometimes someone who's really good at what they do tends to be very humble as well. And it's like, yeah, I worked 12 hours a day and lost 30 pounds and learned about 5 to 10 years worth of stuff in 1 year. I was like, well, that's crazy, Kevin. Good job. And you say that as if it's not something that no one else does. And it's really, really challenging to kind of like look back at those jobs where you're like, God, this is just, and you don't know what you're doing and why. And then 5 years later, you can go like, oh, good. I mastered the skill of what I'm doing now, and your full immersion into it. So my question is like, for someone starting or for someone, because again, I didn't grow up saying I wanted to be a real estate agent, and that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life, but it's something that I'm doing now. And it's something that I'm going to be involved in for the rest of my life. So my question is like, with someone getting into the industry, like what are just a couple things that maybe they could improve on right away that probably would benefit them?
Yeah, man. I think, I feel like society as a whole and, some of the younger newbies that are getting in, I feel like just old fashioned grit, is not sexy anymore. These millennials, they want 40 hours a week, no more. They want unlimited vacation time. And it's just like, define success first off, right out of the gate. Like, what do you truly want out of life? And if you want a 200K salary and 40 hours a week with unlimited PTO, like you got to be a dang expert in whatever the heck you're doing before you would ever be able to negotiate something like that. And I knew for me, like I wanted high earning potential, right away. Like I came from a banking institution that is probably one of the safest stocks you can buy in the stock market right now, but very systematized, old school, suit and tie every day. Once you hit this pay level after 3 years, you go to this 6 years later, and we're not having a conversation until you've had 3 more years, regardless of your performance, just super, super old school. So like, it depends on what you want, but if you want the high earning potential right away, like you got to be an expert. You got to do this shit that people aren't willing to do. And you have to really, I read a quote recently. It's like, or this might've been from Coach Burt, just saying how like whoever solves the largest problems is getting comped the highest. You know what I mean? So like you have to embrace the stress of problems and look at every failure as a lesson. And because I'll tell you what, a lot of people, after you get punched in the face once or twice, they're going to bed and they're pulling the sheets over their head. You know, how can you train your mental mind to be like, all right, I just got punched twice. I'm closer to getting a yes, or I'm closer to hitting my goal. I want to go get punched 3 more times today. Like, to me, that's what separates people and what people need to know getting into the real estate or mortgage industry, man. Like,
yeah,
I've been kicked out of open houses. I've been kicked. I think I'm still banned from the real producer events because they're worried I'm going to come in and take business. Like the people that sponsored that dumb event. Yeah, I hope real producers are listening to this. The people that sponsor that event.
Yeah.
To the people that hold that event, we don't want Kevin there.
That is outstanding. And I did not know that.
They sat down with me and they're like, oh yeah, you can be a sponsor of our event and pay $3,000 a month and we'll help you get real estate agent intros. Like, I don't need to pay for intros.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, you have to get the door slammed in your face over and over again and be willing to move forward, man. And a lot of people don't want to do that.
Well, hey, at least you're not competitive at all. And so it's blue marlins, not blue gills, baby. You know, solve blue marlin problems. And that's the thing where you can solve it. There's nothing wrong with and the last piece of that is you have to solve 1 million blue gill problems to equal 1 blue marlin problem. That's the difference too. We're like, if you're going to solve small problems, you're going to have to solve a lot of them. And my question and point in saying that is like, it's the big things. It's getting your head right. It's understanding what you want. You know, it's solving the big problems for yourself, where it's like, do I want to work 40 hours a week? Do I want to make this amount of money? What do I want my life to look like? So again, I think that's a really good answer, and it's not letting anyone stop you, you know, respectfully, but it's like, if someone tells you no, you have to keep moving. So
yeah, I do have 2 questions on that. I'm trying to figure out the order of importance to ask it in. So maybe we'll start with, you know, you mentioned defining success for you and what that looks like. Could you maybe bring us back to when you're at that inflection point and you're thinking, okay, I want this, this, and this. So like, what was the process you went through to define success for yourself?
Man, I think I'm still figuring that out, to be honest. And I think I change my mind on that like every week. But right out of the gate, you know, just getting into mortgage in Houston, Texas, and like coming out of that bank where I was at 3 to 4 years with very like, they just like put a ceiling on you. I was like, man, I just don't want a ceiling. And I want to make as much money as possible as soon as possible. Like, that was it. And people always talk about their why, right? Like, that's what's going to like drag you through the burning fire of the day, is like a really strong why. But for me, man, I didn't have any kids. I didn't have a girl. Like, I'm basically fresh out of college at this bank for 3 years. Like, my why was just straight dollar bills, dollar signs, right?
Yeah.
And that's changed a lot, you know, going into this is like year 7 for me in the business. It's changed completely. It's like, how do I build something so eventually, like, I'm not a slave to the game? I'm still a slave to the game to this day, 7 years in. But I want to continue to make money, but it's also like time is more of a driving force motivator for me now, right? Time is so valuable, and I'm looking to start a family, and success is starting to look a lot different. But I think that's so important to define early, is clearly knowing what you want. I feel like a lot of people go through their day without knowing what they want. So it's very hard for them to get motivated when you don't know what you're even striving for. So it's like, success is different for everyone. You know, it's not always financially, it's motivated. It's like being healthy and having 3 hours a day with your family, you know? So, but I think you have to define it early to be able to wake up in the morning and chase after something, you know?
Yeah.
It's okay for it to change.
Yeah.
But it's okay for it to change, but based on the values of what, you know, and it's different for everybody. So
yeah, I think that kind of answered the second one, but you know, you mentioned, which I think is hilarious. I didn't know that either. Getting kicked out of the real producer events.
That's great.
Just because you're a hustler, you're going to get it. So I guess talk a little more on that process of, okay, it's middle of the week, maybe not a great day, got the door slammed in my face a few times. Like, talk a little bit more on just staying resilient during that process. And I'm sure a lot of that is because of the success that you defined before that. But yeah, if you can, just talk more on that, I guess.
Yeah, man. To me, it's all grit. You know what I mean? Like it's the Will. Oh God, I need to. I was gonna say it's the Will Smith. Like I was thinking of the Will Smith video of him like being on the treadmill saying like, if I'm against the treadmill,
I will die before I get off.
Yeah.
I'm like, we can't be talking about Will Smith right now. I don't want to that. That's funny. So to me, man, like what separates myself, what separates just anyone in business is just like the mental strength, man. Like, last week I probably did 10 to 11 hours a day, and then Saturday and Sunday, 9+ hours. And then how do you turn around after working that much on Monday and just come up and be ready to go? And don't get me wrong, it's hard. I have the mornings just like everyone else where you don't want to get up and go to the gym and go through that grind. But it's like having the mental strength. And I think you need like a support system of, you need to surround yourself with people that have those similar thoughts. Because when you are down, it's like, I'll just read you guys if I still have it. So Greg McBride on my team this morning at 5:53 a.m. says you can make excuses or you can make progress. You choose, and like my team, I have my team on a group text, and we're always in the morning firing stuff first thing in the morning, like, hey, let's go, like motivational type of stuff. I respond to them like pain of discipline or pain of regret. So I think a lot of it is just like centering yourself mentally. And that's what makes me resilient and makes me want to, after putting in 80 hours over the last, 7 days, that's what keeps me going,
Yeah. So. I don't think a lot of people understand what it means to work 80 hours a week, more than 1 week in a row, and I don't like want to say that like whoop-de-doo, woe is me, like, oh, we're so cool. But it's like, man, I was in the office till 10 o'clock this last Saturday, and I woke up at 7 and was in Cranberry 30 minutes away at 8 a.m. And it is just the worst sometimes because it was snowing. And it's just like, I don't know, man, it's hard, and it makes me like question it, and then I have to come back to what I'm doing, and I'm just like, gosh, this is just, but then on Monday morning, I don't have to wake up at 7:30 because no one's telling me to. And it's just like, oh yeah, that's cool. And it's a little bit of balance, but it's like you get the time freedom, which means you also get no one telling you, oh, you're going to fail miserably. We don't care. Like it's a little bit of both. But I think what you just said is like, surround yourself with the like-minded individuals that care about you. Mindset mentors. It's just trying to make sure that you have a group supporting you. You can only go so far yourself. So just to bring it back into the story, I guess a little bit too, like, you're moving from Texas, you're in Pittsburgh, you DM, say his name one more, Casey Crawford.
Yep.
And he's getting you set up. I remember at one point in time you said to me, you're like, yeah, we can totally get it rolling, man. Just give us like some time. Like, what was the you had like leads coming from your previous job. Like, give me like the starting in Pittsburgh and then to like where you are now, maybe like the first couple of years, like some of the things you ran into growing the business and like those struggles.
Yeah. So the funniest thing, man, part of this story is, so this guy is working with out of Houston. It was a lead shop. So like he had websites set up that made him look like he was like the USDA, but he really wasn't. And it was like a lead aggregator. So it was just, man, like sketchy kind of stuff. So like we're getting all these leads, people calling in like, oh, you're the USDA. Like we were answering the phone saying like, yeah, this is USDA Loans Direct. How can we help you? Like that was his website, and that's how he trained us to answer the phone. So like, it was definitely a little fishy.
It's the grayest of gray.
Yeah. So like, we're doing like, I still remember my schedule, man. 8:30 to about 11:30 to noon, I was dialing every single day for a year, dialing out to all these leads that were coming in, and then from noon to about 4 p.m., that was our deal processing time, following up on pay stubs, structuring deals, locking rates. And then as soon as 4:35 hit, I'm on the phone again until about 8 p.m. dialing leads again. So it's like always prospecting every single day for a year. So like I didn't have to go out and bring in any of our business. Like it was all supplied through these leads that we had to work. And so when we're interviewing with movement and stuff, like we had gotten pretty dang good at working these leads, believe it or not. Like we were closing. I was like the number one guy in the shop, you know, out of like, I don't know, he had 10 or 15 people. And I don't know, I think we were closing about 2 to 3 million a month in these freaking leads, which was like really good, especially in 2015, 2016. So when we're like interviewing with movement, I'm sitting down and we're like, we print out like our pipeline of closings over the last like 12 months. We're like, yeah, we're doing 3 mil a month or whatever. Yeah. We didn't tell movement that these were provided leads, and movement doesn't provide leads. Yeah. So they fly us down to corporate. It's like me, Greg McBride, and Ryan Carney at the time. They fly us down to corporate, man. And like one of their national sales director, like picks us up in his Range Rover, takes us to this fancy country club for lunch. And like, we're sitting down, I print out a folder with all of our closings. I'm like handing it to him. And like, here I am, like a $2 to $3 million producer, which like is really nothing at all. Like now in the mortgage field. Yeah. And, so we convinced them to like open an office based on these leads that we were closing that we were no longer going to have as soon as we switched over to movement. Right. So we do all the interviews like Casey. We go through all of corporate, like all the departments, marketing and and everyone just kept saying, "Oh, we love your energy. We love having young people. There's not many young people in the business." And we get back and they gave us the shot. We signed the contract with them. And I sat down with Greg and Ryan. I'm like, guys, like, we gotta figure out how the heck we're gonna bring in business, boys. So like, and the best part about it is me, Greg, and Ryan all live together. In this house it was on Pius Street. It's actually a beautiful house that we rented. Yeah. We worked from home, like the second floor living room. We set up with like 3 desks in each corner with whiteboards everywhere, and we sat down and we're adding realtors on LinkedIn, Facebook, and we're like, all right, we're going to send 300 messages a day about how like we're going to help them better than other mortgage lenders. And that was like the first year was just messaging realtors like insanely amount. And the hard part was like we're trying to get coffee meetings and stuff like that. 7 out of 10 coffee meetings, the agent would cancel. So like we're not getting the numbers we need quick enough. That's when we started just showing up at open houses. Like we were known in the local market. Like these guys just show up at our open house. They're super aggressive. But that's how we and got like our name out there. And we started doing some events and like kept showing up, and people kept to get to know us. And I think why we attracted people is like we were doing all this stuff nobody wanted to do. Right. No loan officers are going out to open houses. They're not picking up their phones on the weekends. Pittsburgh had never heard of a 15-day close or an upfront underwrite in 2016. And I, to this day, firmly believe like we transformed the mortgage industry in Pittsburgh by bringing this new age modern company. And if you were a mortgage lender in Pittsburgh, you had to step your game up or we were going to take your business. Yeah. Like Pittsburgh was 45 to 60 day closings all day long. Like agents, when I had to close a deal in 15 days, they were just like, no.
Yeah. They're like, what's wrong? Yeah. And honestly, to that, I'll tell you what, like until there's something else better, it's very much a mutual respect, but it's like, there's no one else that I've ever spoken with. You know, I've done all the coffee meetings I can do. It's like literally no one's better, you know, and it's just like, it is what it is. And my point in saying that is, Kyle, okay, one other guy ever, because it happened very recently, but in the coming up on 3 years that I've been doing this, only one of your guys is the only person who's ever actually come to an open house that I've done. And I don't know if that's ever occurred to you, Tim, where someone that works for a mortgage lender has come to an open house you've done, but the only one up until like literally 2 weeks ago was one of your guys. And one of the guys you work with, Kyle, is great. You know, and on Saturday at my office at 10 p.m., he was the one that was answering me. You know what I mean? And I hesitate and I feel bad sending that text because I have a, you know, more than a business, like personal relationship with all of you guys. But you're like, hey, Pete, yeah, let's go. Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm like, oh God, thank you so much. Like, I appreciate you. It's just like that level of commitment and caring, and it does wear on you, like to have your phone responding to that stuff. But, again, it's with you and Greg and all you guys walking around. My question is like, you hear it, you don't let the how stop you, where you're sitting at a country club, you got picked up in a Range Rover, you're sitting at the country club, it's like, here's my folder, oh, how are you guys going to do this? You're like, oh, we're going to figure it out. So, I mean, Tim, do you have any, as far as that,
like the duration of time. So it's you guys hustling in the living room, messaging, going to open houses and doing the stuff that literally no one else will do. Which that in and of itself shows everybody like, man, these guys, they're working hard. Like they're going to do the same when, they have our loan. So what was like, how long did you guys do that before you really started to see things like snowball? What was that timeline like?
It was a good year, man. It was a good year of doing all of those activities. And I think Pittsburgh was so far behind on like their service and mortgage products that we grew at a rapid speed. Like I think in my first year, I think I did like 120 plus units, which like is pretty dang solid. But in the current market, like with how the market's transformed, how lenders have progressed, I don't think I could replicate the speed to like how I grew my business if I like no one knew me today. The Pittsburgh mortgage and real estate market is exactly where it is today. Like I don't think I could ever replicate, maybe, but like I just think Pittsburgh was so far behind, man, on like 45 to 60 day closings. I think there was one lender doing upfront underwrites besides us, Victorian Finance. That was like their claim to fame. But they like the marketing. No one was on Facebook. No one was on social. So like these other lenders may have had similar products and services, but like they just weren't like taking it to market in a big way,
Yeah.
If you talk to me in 2015, 2016, like my approach, I would literally probably throw up on a realtor in a meeting, which is like, oh my God, we're so good at this. We can close in 15 days. Like our rates are great. Yeah, we can. I'm always going to pick up the phone. Like just like crazy energy, like way too much. Like looking back on it, I'm like, wow. Like now it's just like obviously a completely different approach if I sit down with someone. But I don't know, man. It was the there's always opportunities in the market, right? And like who's bringing that new thing to market, making it easier for their clients. And I think a lot of our success was tied certainly with like Pittsburgh being super behind.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
so
timing
solving problems. Yeah. Go ahead, Pete.
No, I was going to say that the timing of it matters massively.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's something where you find yourself in the right place at the right time. But I would hesitate to say that, it might be harder, but you know what I mean? Like the thing is, if someone else was trying to do it and you still took that same mindset to it, it might take longer, but I have a very strong feeling that you would still be able to make it work. And my point in saying that too is like, Robert Kiyosaki, like the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what you just made me think of too, where it's like, you had the enthusiasm, you were selling, you had that attitude. And it's, talking about being an author versus being a best-selling author. Well, like it doesn't say best writing author. You can write the best book, but you have to learn how to market it. And if no one sees it, it's not going to be a best-selling novel. So you can have the best thing, but like if you build it, they will not come. And so my question is around the CRM system, the systems you use now, because it's better than ours, to be honest with you. It's better than a lot of people. How important is like the system, the process, like, and just the iteration and like changing that? Because, you're starting off blasting off LinkedIn messages, like you're going to events, getting kicked out of the Real Producers, going to open houses. What is like something you do, something that like you really maybe hit your stride with, and then like something you do now to continue to grow your business?
One thing I just remembered too. So like, I think there was 2 real estate agents that put me as their guest to go to the Real Producers event. And they reached the Real Producers reached out to them and said, oh no, Kevin can't come. So just to clarify that. That's fun stuff there. That's the stuff that motivates me even more. It's like, all right, but anyways, so the systems are everything. And it's like, I just recorded where we do a mini series every month with like random tips and stuff. And our April mini series is like the order in which you build a business. And it's like, first you got to be the expert, right? Like you got to actually know your stuff, because if you're 1 year in the business, like I was in 2016, like these loan officers are saying that Kevin God doesn't know anything about mortgages. So it's like, how do you quickly become an expert? And then two, like to me, you have to have your processes, procedural stuff and systems in place before you go to market, really, because you only get one shot with referral sources and clients and everything. So it's like, if you have a bad client experience, you completely may have eliminated a referral source, right? So it's like processes and systems are like, you have to have that in place before you market at a large level. So like we have so many systems and processes, man. And we've added those over the years. Like I feel like it's very important to always be in the mindset of like, what can we make better? What can we tweak? Like we tweak something every single week, because your competitors are always going to eventually catch on to what you're doing. And the only way you can stay ahead is if you're constantly creating. And most of the people that I see in this business, they're reactive and they just try to mimic and copy, rather than actually creating and using those creative juices. But like our CRM is so important. I mean, I pay a lot of money for it, but it's such a great tool because it literally adds a body to our team through automation. So like our CRM cost is a salary. It really is a salaried person. That's how I view it. But it probably triples the cost of the system.
Yeah.
Because
the thing is, it's a very underpaid salaried person. It can do the work of 5 people.
Right. So, but it's just little stuff, man. Like how you manage your emails, your client intake, how you intaking clients, how are you updating clients and the referral sources? You got to have everything thought out. And the way we've built our systems is start with a whiteboard, right? All right, client calls, step 1. Okay, how do we, you know what I mean? Like you have to break it down and figure out what systems work for you. And before we had all of our like fancy tools and stuff, man, we used a Google Doc. That's where it started. Google Doc sheet shared with the team. And then obviously it develops as you get better and as you scale and improve.
Tim makes fun of me because I think I have more email folders than anyone who exists on this planet. But I'll tell you what, man, I know exactly where everything is. And so with that, my question too is, okay, so like for the realtor watching on this side of it too, like I would crash into the wall. And it was like, you know what? I send this freaking email 3 times a day. Why don't I just make a template and save it on my phone in my emails under a folder called email templates? And so I go in there and I'm at a red light and it's a new buyer lead that pops through and I go click, copy, paste, send. And then I can instantly get in touch with people quickly. So it's like the things that until you have maybe the resources to put behind it, it's just making all the things that you have to do repeatedly as automated as you possibly can. And so with that though, there's only so many things that you can automate. I think something that you do a phenomenal job with, Kevin, is just the genuine connection and caring about people. It makes sense that you aligned with movement so well. You said it with such enthusiasm too, where you're like, yeah, they give so much money to charity. Like I know that you've traveled and helped, do projects with Movement Mortgage related to, a number of different things. So my question is like, talk about how, once you have the machine running, if you will, your goals kind of change. You said it a little bit too, where like the growth and contribution to helping others become something that maybe your shift moves towards, because now you have a team of, how many people and helping those people, grow into the future.
Yeah, man. So it's definitely started with just me being selfish, just caring about me, just caring about money. And I feel like a lot of people start that way, right? And then it obviously grows. And I tell some of the leaders on my team every day, man, like if you're not motivated enough to do it for yourself today, think of the 7 other people that are relying on your efforts today to feed their families, So that's obviously played a big role. And, Movement as a company, there's 100 different mortgage lenders I could go work for. Right. And I could even start my own, and I could probably make double than what I do now if I started my own company. But it's like, you value time, and Movement makes it super easy, and their leadership is phenomenal, man. Like Casey Crawford is probably one of the most impressive individuals I've ever met in my life. And just to be like teamed up with them and their guidance, like within my first 6 months at Movement, I'm on a mission trip in freaking Guatemala, spending time helping build churches and sending money out there. Like Movement has shaped my life and made me a better person, given me a deeper why. And now it's like, okay, I've had some success, and it's like, how do I help my team achieve their goals? You know what I mean? How do I get them to where they want to be, and allow them to hit the levels of success that they want to hit under the team umbrella? Because in order to have large success in this industry, in the mortgage industry, in real estate, the turnover is insane, right? Yeah. Most of the people on my team have been with me for 4+ years, and it's because we're tight and we always take care of each other, So it's like, how do you really truly care about people and help them versus just like being a jerk and having people turn over every year,
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I think that speaks for itself as, you're going to keep that retention level high as soon as you're focusing on them and their long-term goals. So I think that's huge, Kevin. As far as where you see yourself, where you want to be in, say, 5, 7, 10 years, like, do you strategically think that far ahead, or what's that look like for you?
Yeah, it's definitely tough to think that far ahead, but I think personally, my number one strength is business building. So, helping, put systems in place, marketing and coaching is probably like what I'm truly best at. And so, I constantly analyze like our mortgage process and like, okay, what do I absolutely have to be doing, and what can a teammate do to achieve like the highest level of customer service, but also not have the reputation of like, oh, if you work with Kevin, he doesn't talk to anyone, he just hands it off, which is not the case, but that is the case with these larger teams that you can work with. So it's like, how do you navigate that while scaling? But 5 years out, man, like 10 years out, I want to keep growing. And I think eventually for me, like I get the most joy out of helping others. But to me, like until you hit where you want to be financially and hit your goals, like I'm still foot on the gas, like 110 miles an hour every day. But eventually, like I've told my team this, I don't want a jet, right? I'm not the Instagram jet guy, right? I want to have a comfortable life and have time. And I have a number in my head that I want to hit. And when I hit that number, it's like, okay, I don't need another X amount of dollars in the bank. I'm good. Let me do what I actually like really, really enjoy. Like calling 15 people a day, chasing down pay stubs, like believe it or not, guys, like is not the funnest thing in the world, but I know it's my vehicle to get me to where I want to be. And I think eventually for me, man, like I could see myself coaching or just taking a higher level of leadership on the team and helping others grow within the team kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm super, 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 super in the trenches every day. And right. I know that's where I need to be for at least the next 3 to 5 years. I'm fine with that. But like 5 years out, I'll probably be in a more of a coaching kind of role.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it feels like that's a natural progression of leaders. I mean, pick your example where it's like Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs weren't building computers, but they did in the garage for Apple, and it wouldn't make sense for them to be doing that 10 years in the future, you know what I mean? Like 10 years down the line from when they started, but they still could if they had to, like that's the thing where like, and that's why everyone listened to them because they understood the process. They understood what to do. they built it to a point where, you know, it was only going to get bigger if they were able to relinquish some of the control, which is extremely difficult to do after you've built your literal baby that takes care of you and your family, you know, and to go out into the marketplace, if you will, and attract teammates, other people to help you build your group even bigger. You know, that's what Casey Crawford's doing. You know, he took a shot on you. You know, they didn't know you didn't have any lead flow coming in when you handed them the folder. You know, but it's like it's connecting with the people where, you know, it's not going to be perfect all of the time. There's I believe it's a Tony Robbins thing where it's like, I have 105 companies. What are the odds that someone somewhere is fucking something up right now? It's like very good, you know, and just making sure that you're okay with that. In that company has the systems and processes to you know, take care of itself. So, yeah, KO 2023, I'm sure he'll be doing really big things. But, you know, my I guess like kind of finishing question is, if you, you know, it's kind of like we were saying before, like top 3 things, top 5 things, maybe just some other pieces to share with like someone getting into the industry. Someone that's like feeling stuck, because I think it does come back to your mindset about all of this quite a bit. You know, but again, like something that might be helpful to someone that is stuck in the mortgage space that doesn't feel like they like it, you know, or how could I improve what I'm doing right now? You know, I'm just trying to make sure that if anyone sees this, they can have a sense of compassion that like there are other people out there that have the same problems and that they're trying to, you know, help you.
Yeah, man. I mean, to me, it's really just generalized, right? Because a mortgage is a widget, a home is a widget, Cutco knives are a widget, right? And the top performers in whatever sales or whatever you're selling, homes, mortgages, knives, apples. I mean, it's just general like ideas and practices, right? That you have to follow. And it's like, people will always say like, oh, the must be nice thing, like must be nice you're closing that much and making, you know, whatever money. But to me, it's so much is mental, right? The mental power and the non-sexy stuff, man. Like waking up at 5 a.m. every day, even on Saturday and Sunday, and getting a workout in early, and then centering yourself with gratitude and getting your mind in the right place. Like that, to me, like just your mind alone and your belief and your enthusiasm and your energy, like that's 30, 40, 50% of it. And I think the biggest thing is, this is one of my favorite quotes of all time, like how you do anything is how you do everything. And if you don't make your bed every morning and you got dirty dishes in the sink and you know, you're kind of a sloppy individual with certain stuff, like I strongly believe like you're going to be limited on your business success because you're not tight on those other things. And Tim, I know, you know, former military and stuff, like you learned that through the military, but I really strongly believe in that. Like people ask, like, how do you close so many loans, man? Like you're 7 years in and you're top 5 at movement, and how do you do it? And it's like, I show up every day, and my email is probably more organized than your email. Probably. I call people back probably quicker than you call people back.
Probably.
I put myself out there more than anyone in the Pittsburgh market. There's no one else that puts themselves out there as much as me. And guess what? I have the most haters in the Pittsburgh market because of that, right? Because I'm putting the target on my back. But it's getting uncomfortable, man. And it's just it's the general items that separates people in business. And I don't think there's anything specific like, oh, you need to call the client this way and say this and present the mortgage in this way. Like there is super tactical things like that. But before you even can perfect your craft, like you got to have all that other stuff lined up, you know?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That was a good segment that we should cut and just put everywhere, because I think, everyone's looking for the shortcut to success. And what it sounds like, Kevin, is there isn't any. You got to cut your teeth. You got to, you know, show up daily, get everything right in your life. I mean, I think that's huge. That was
there's a lot of people in the mortgage industry and the real estate industry, man, that like has an uncle that runs a construction company that can give like super warm referrals, or their mom or dad started in real estate for 30 years. Now they're getting the leads, or they went to high school. Like I love Devin Lauer, man. He's one of my best friends. He went to high school in Lebanon. Like people have saw that kid grow up, play football. He has natural connections because of that. And that's awesome. And you should always tap into that. But I didn't have a warm intro to, I didn't know a single person in Pittsburgh, man. So like coming from that background, like I had to go do all that crappy stuff and, excuse my French, but eat shit for 2 straight years, you know?
It built up your skill set accordingly that you can then help develop and coach people into the future. So makes you into the lethal weapon you are, Kev.
Yeah, no, it's true. And you know, I kind of set you up. I was confident that you would answer the question in that way, but you know, it is the truth where there is no silver bullet. You know, I've had people reach out when we do like the mindset mentor stuff, when we're trying to share strategies, things to do, where I just like, I've been watching the videos. I'm just kind of waiting for the silver bullet. It was like, the silver bullet is how many push-ups did you do between the hours of 6 and 7 a.m. over the past month? You know, it's like, I don't like making phone calls. It's like, well, I don't like push-ups, and I hate heart disease more, and I hate being broke even more. You know, it's just like,
pick your pain.
You know, there is no silver bullet, and you nailed it too, where it's like, what do you think the reason the military makes you wake up, make your bed and iron your shirt and have a very nice, clean, pressed white uniform? It's because how you do anything is how you do everything. And it's the most accurate. I don't know if it's Jesse Itzler, if he came up with it or if he just coined it and promoted it the most, but you know, it's just like, it's not being afraid to fail. It's not being afraid to try. And I think a big thing that, I mean, Tim, I mean, back me up if you agree, like that I've noticed just from these interviews is everybody who is doing something at a high level it's so hungry, humble, coachable, like the Coach Burt isms. It is so much just like, yeah, I had no idea what I was doing, but I really wanted to help people. And I have the skill set, not me, but successful person has the skill set and the belief in themselves that because I did all this stuff, I learned how to do this skill that I have at a super high level. And I know that I can always fall back on that. And it allows me to have the confidence to go for it.
Yep.
You know, it's just that ability. I think it's something that you have to build, and it's really hard, but
well, it's sacrifice. And I think the biggest, like the more widgets you sell, the more money you make. You know what Biggie says, mo money, mo problems, right? So like in the past 12 months, man, I mean, I've had some of the biggest challenges on a mental basis, on a work basis, on a work-life balance, like, and those challenges, like, it's the way you respond to it mentally. And just like, I think the one thing that I like just ingrained in my mental this year is you're never going to feel like it. And you cannot act on emotions. You have to act on commitment. And I think that was probably the thing that I think of every morning when alarm clock goes off and I'm just like, shit, it's 17 degrees. I did not want to get out of this bed. And then I'm like, nope, I committed. I'm doing this thing, you know, like you guys did the 75-day hardest. It's just like training your mental to make that commitment to yourself and never alter, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that though too, it's the clippable moment. It's you're never gonna feel like it. You have to act your way into feeling, you know, and it's so freaking annoying when I'm standing there staring at my shoes. I'm like, oh, I know I have to do the act my way into feeling thing. And it's just like, it sucks. You know, it sucks even when you're doing it, even when you're like listening to the video to try to feel positive. You know, it doesn't help always, but you still have to do it because the regret of not doing it is so much worse.
Yep.
So, you know, with that though, Tim, I mean, do you have any other questions?
No, I think that was a good way to end it.
I agree.
Saying, you know, acting your commitments, not your emotions.
Yeah.
You know, that's another Coach Birdism is amateurs acting their emotions, something like that.
Yeah, it's professionals have a plan. Amateurs listen to their feelings. Professionals, damn it, what is it?
You almost got it. So
Navy SEALs, not baby seals, baby.
there we
Blue
go.
Marlins, not bluegills.
Maybe if
Navy
Chad
SEALs,
Wright
not
ever
baby
listens to
seals.
this, he'll be like, "That's right, man. That's right."
I love that guy. Kevin, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you very much. Last thing, if anyone ever wanted to reach out to you, connect with you, ask you questions about the mortgage industry, what's the best couple ways to connect with you?
Social media, I'm all over Facebook, Instagram. I'll respond to DMs occasionally. So
Very quickly too.
And I'll say that that's true because whenever I met Kevin, I'm pretty sure. Shout out to Devin Lauer again. You sent him a Christmas card, and he put it on Instagram. And the lenders that I was working with at Howard Hanna weren't doing what I needed, and so I reached out to Devin, and said, "Who's Kevin?" And he said, "Oh, Kevin's great, man." I was like, "Why does he send you Christmas cards? Mine won't even call me back." You know? and then I reached out to you, and we got coffee at the Galleria Starbucks for whatever period of time, and you made me laugh because you're like, "Yeah, 7 out of 10 realtors canceled on me." We sat there for like an hour.
Yeah.
It was a while. It was a really good meeting, and it was like I connected with you really well. I'd like to say vice versa. We had a good connection. You sent me a coffee cup 2 days later, and I was like, wow, this guy's really good at doing what he says he's going to do. And so I just can't say it enough, man. You are the best. You are so good at what you do, and I appreciate you very much. Your team does an amazing job. So
Thanks,
fellas. Appreciate y'all.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Kev. All right, have a good week.
Later.